Gone. I've had the same experience with elderly men who feel like they have nothing to contribute anymore. It's not true. It's not true. They don't have anything to contribute anymore because nobody invites them to contribute anything. I'm sitting downtown. One of my favorite places to be for thinking is Starbucks. I was so delighted when I came here the first time 3 years ago. Oh, thank God there's a Starbucks here. I mean, I'm from Seattle. Seattle, Starbucks, Ichiro, that's the world, you know? If you don't know Starbucks, everybody knows Ichiro and where he's from. No one will know Seattle. Ichiro, oh, Mariners, Seattle Mariners. Everybody knows that. I love it. He's a great guy, great player. And so Starbucks is a place where I go for thinking. Is it quiet? No. There's chattering all over. I get to listen to jazz. And I get to watch, particularly one of my favorite places is the Starbucks in JR Sapporo Eki. The one that have tables outside. Oh God, I love that place. I love it. I can go down there, I sit, and sometimes I'll take notes, sometimes I'll take a book to read, sometimes I'll just watch. Developed a whole scene, I wrote a whole scene from things I saw one day sitting down there, a scene in the novel I'm writing about, and I'll tell you about that later. And a fictional artist in Asakusa, Tokyo, named Seiji Matsuda. I published had a short story about titled Seiji, published last month in a book published by Marshall Cavendish in Singapore of new Asian short stories. I'm the only non-Asian of 25 people in the book. It was edited by Professor Muhammad A. Qayyum of the International Islamic University in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. You know how I got that? Email comes in my inbox one day from from an editor I've made acquaintance with in Kuala Lumpur named Anita Sundararaj. George, Professor Qayyum is putting together this book. I think you need to send him something. So I looked at it and thought, I'm not Asian, obviously. So that's what I said to her. She said, George, write something. So I'm thinking, write something. What? What can I think of that's Asian? And I've been reading, and Aiko, my wife Aiko, is sitting right back there, and she and I are both great newspaper clippers. We clip articles out of the newspaper. And I ran across, I brought with me from Seattle, out of the Seattle Times newspaper, about the Tokyo firebombing and firebombings in 1945. It's just absolutely awful photograph. And I just happened to have it in a folder by my computer desk. I looked at it. I thought, oh, Asakusa, because that hit Asakusa. That's my favorite place in Tokyo. I love it. Down around Nakamise Shopping Center, the Kaminaramon Gate and Sensoji Temple and the Sumida River. Oh, yeah, except in summers. No, I don't do hot, sticky summers at all. My body does not like it. But spring and fall, that's cool. October, November, yeah, I'll do that. Cherry blossom time, the weather's great. But so all of a sudden I thought, artist. Why artist? I don't know. Popped up in my head. And the name, Seiji, came up. I've always liked Seiji Ozawa, the conductor. Maybe that's where I got the name. So I wrote the story and he accepted it. So it's being open to these kinds of things. Let's see, I went down that road and I forgot where exactly I was, so I'll go back and pick it up. Right. I was talking about giving people an opportunity to do things. And that is seeing opportunities where we're not used to maybe seeing them. Downtown Otaru, around the canal and all those buildings, they're gorgeous. I mean, I fell in love with those first thing we came here. There's an area in Seattle that when I was growing up there in the 40s and 50s was all run down. It had been the core of downtown Seattle in the 1880s and 90s and early 1900s. And the buildings were old, gorgeous things, but everything above the first floor was all empty. They were going to tear it down and didn't, because someone, a group of people got together and said, no, you're not tearing these buildings down, they're beautiful. They need to be renovated, reformed, as we say here in Japan, and made new again. And there's some beautiful buildings downtown. One attorney I met showed me his office. He told me about refurbishing that building, and he said you wouldn't believe the amount of hotto droppings we took out of here, pigeon droppings we took out of here over the years. I could only imagine how many tons of that stuff there was up there, that and God knows what else. But beautiful old buildings, a tourist attraction, because someone saw possibilities where most people go, oh, these are old buildings, but what more could happen with what I call Old Town Otaru if people began to think that way? We think about, oh, businesses close. Yeah, they do. And the economy, as it is here and in my country right now, a lot of them close. Other businesses open. What kinds of opportunities might there be for people to run businesses if we began thinking about the possibilities? What are the needs that people have? I don't know. But I bet we could find out if we started looking. The one thing that I'm not sure that frightens me is the right word, but the one thing that bothers me, that troubles me, is finding people and institutions that have become so used to doing things in the same way that they've done them forever, and I've worked for a few of those, that they not only don't anticipate change, they don't welcome change. And they don't. A friend of mine, my best friend in Seattle, is retiring from the Veterans Administration next week, I think. And the new director under President Obama of the Veterans Administration is a retired U.S. Army General Eric Shinseki, Japanese American. And Director Shinseki sent out a directive to all of the Veterans Administration's hospitals in the country that he wanted some new ideas for how to improve service to patients. Paul is my friend. Paul and I talk via Skype, video phone, at least once a week. That is a wonderful program. It doesn't cost either one of us anything because it's computer to computer, and it's like sitting across from each other at a Starbucks. We can see each other, and he's telling me about the meeting he had where people came up or reported on their best ideas. And Paul is a very creative guy. And I said, what did they come up with, Paul? He said, George, you will not believe this. I said, well, try me. The best suggestion that everyone in that VA system could come up with was more parking spaces. I almost fell out of my chair laughing. I said, you are kidding me. More parking spaces. This is going to improve services. Oh, poor General Shinseki. Poor General Shinseki. What an awful revelation to get that kind of feedback and discover that your whole system's dead. They don't come up with new things because they don't know how to deal with them. The biggest problem I would have with clients in terms of changing themselves was dealing with change. It's easier to slide along doing the same thing we've done all the time because it's really familiar. If I go home the same way all the time, have exactly the same routine every day, and nobody messes it up, or the weather doesn't mess it up by dumping about this much snow all over the place that I've got to dig myself out of, and it's really hard, or it makes it a whole lot more difficult for me to get it. I use a walking stick in the wintertime so I don't go bang and break something on the ice. It gives me one extra leg. I may graduate someday to two of them, but they don't want to change. They want the situation to change, but they don't want to change. If I want something better to happen in my business, my enterprise, my career, my writing, something, I have to find the changes that I need to make and work on those. Difficult only applies to beginnings. You know what the most difficult thing about moving to Japan was for me? Moving to a country where the only things I could read were Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Panasonic, other English words. I don't read Japanese. I can move to Mexico and Costa Rica and have no problem because it's all the same alphabet and I've studied Spanish, so it's easy for me to read it. But I'd have to learn thousands of different characters to learn to read Japanese. So first time I came here, without iPod, help! I focus on landmarks, so I'm not so dependent on reading reading things in Japanese. Landmarks become like reading for me. So, what I've told clients over the years and people that I've done consulting with, that if you plan on doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting the same or better results, I advise you that you sit down and think again about the whole situation. Because the likelihood of getting better or different results from doing the same thing over and over are very remote. Typically, if I do the same thing over and over and over and over again, the situation has changed to the point where I begin to get sharply diminishing results, diminishing returns. Nobody's interested in my product anymore. Well, of course not. Who uses hand-cranked telephones?